I overhear a lot of players on the airsoft field say things like, well, if only I had a better gun, I would have hit that player. Or really, in general, they're implying that if they spend more money on airsoft, they're going to have a more successful time. They're going to have more fun, they're going to get more players out, and overall have a higher level of skill. However, today I brought along Eric from Gun Gamers, and we're going to ask the question, is airsoft pay to win? All that in today's video. What's up, Airsofters? My name is Lane, and welcome back to the BB Warrior. We're here to help you have a better time both on and off the airsoft field through our educational content. And if you enjoy videos like these, I'd love it if you joined our community by hitting that subscribe button down below. And while you're at it, make sure to hit the bell icon next to it for updates when we post brand new videos. So like I said, for today's video, I brought along Eric from Gun Gamers.
Hello, everybody.
And Gun Gamers is a great educational channel. If you enjoy these sort of videos that I do, definitely check them out. So what do you think is the, first off, let's talk about guns, because when I hear this most, it's like, well, I need a better gun, and that'll make me do better in airsoft. If I just drop more money into the money pit of a hobby that this is, I'll be better at airsoft. But is that really the case as two players who, use really high-end guns?
The funny thing is, so we're talking about this partially because I kind of wrote an article about this a few years ago,
Yeah.
but my opinions have shifted even since then, because if you'd asked me this question maybe 8 or 9 years ago when I was first starting getting into airsoft seriously, I might have said, yeah, you really have to put a lot of money into your gun to even be able to compete. But now I think starter guns and cheaper guns have gotten so much better in general. Unless you've used like a JG M4S system, don't at me about how terrible whatever you started with was. So it's just the gap between the low end and high end has significantly shrank.
Yeah, and I think that you see that, and especially a lot of the guns that people will typically say are your bad airsoft guns, or your very intermediate beginner's guns. So I'm talking about Lancer Tactical, Classic Army, offerings from G&G, like the ARP9 or their combat machine line.
Yeah.
They have a lot of the same features that you're going to find in a GMP, a VFC Avalon, or a Crytek, that you simply didn't have that 5 years ago. That gap between bad and good airsoft guns, it was very noticeable, whereas today, newer players really have it easy. Like Eric said,
you darn kids don't know how good you have
system with the... And I think that like a lot of companies, especially within that beginner range, are realizing that there are some things they should put more money into than others. Mm-hmm. So like I do a lot of videos on Lancer Tactical's guns. I'm of the belief that they put a lot of their money on the internals, and that's why they go with plastic externals for some of their guns, because it allows them to put more money where it actually matters. So I think in terms of the actual gun that you're using itself, it doesn't matter as much.
I think the most perfect example these days is the CYMA AKs.
Exactly.
The CYMA AKs, if you were playing 10 years ago, you remember CYMA stood for crap your money away. They used to make really bad stuff. Now they make stamped steel VFC assembly style AKs that compete almost with LCT directly. And you're paying maybe $200 on the high end for a stamped steel CYMA AK. And you can take one of those out of the box, bring it to the field, and put some decent BBs into it and compete pretty effectively with pretty much anyone out there if you're a smart player. So the fact that you can do that, I think, really negates the impact of the gun to a very real extent. Now, there are very high-end, very fantastic guns out there. HPA was absolutely, I think, the last major push in super high-end performance, short of like DSG. But ironically, this didn't really come out until after HPA became a thing. But those have kind of plateaued to a certain extent. There's really only so much performance you can squeeze out of the current systems available in airsoft. So it's going to take another major innovation to really widen that gap again.
Not to get off track and do a completely different video topic, but I feel like it's going to stay at that plateau because nobody wants to reinvent the wheel. And it feels like whenever someone comes up with their own original design, people shut it down because, it's not TM compatible. Mm-hmm. But there is validity in buying these expensive airsoft guns. If you go out and you buy an umbrella or you buy like an average sniper rifle, they are good guns, don't get me wrong. But I feel like you can still do well as a player without them.
I think a lot of it comes down to understanding the limitations of your system and understanding what's a limitation of your system versus what's a limitation of your skill set, and also what's an inherent limitation of airsoft that you're just going to have to deal with no matter what you have. I see so many people think that, oh, well, if only I could cut through the brush at this field and get these guys. I'm like, dude, I don't care what gun you have. I don't care what BBs you use. You're not going to cut through all the brush in airsoft. You're not going to penetrate through all this brush because we're shooting tiny 6mm plastic projectiles out of a smoothbore barrel.
Yeah.
You're going to have to deal with that.
Yeah. But there are some products that are absolutely worth spending a little bit extra money on. And the couple that come to mind for me is you should definitely spend money on iPro. Because, one, your eyes don't grow back. But two, not having to worry about fog is amazing. And spending $150 on my ESS turbofans 4 years ago is the best investment I've made in airsoft to date.
Yep.
As well, personally, I'm of the belief that a good optic really helps players. But then again, you also need to sit down and zero it in.
Yeah, which is a time and skill type of thing.
Yeah.
And also just thinking about it.
And then finally, making sure that you're using good BBs. I mean,
Yeah.
they're disposable, so I get why people don't want to spend a lot of money on them. But when you go out and you buy the better BBs, it's going to lead to better performance in any airsoft gun. And using heavy enough BBs as well.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest pet peeve is when I'll see someone buy this super high-end rifle platform. They'll have like a really nice Polar Star, they'll have an Umbrella Armory, and then they're throwing cheap BBs into it. Well, number one, you don't want to compromise the performance of your system by possibly damaging it with really cheap, really crappy BBs. But number two, your gun is going to perform better objectively. We actually have a couple of videos where we have tested the effect of BB weight on range and time to target and effective range. And we have found in pretty much every case that using higher end, heavier BBs, that as long as you can hop them effectively, will make your gun shoot further and reach those further distances faster. So if you're one of those people who thinks, oh, well, I spent all this money on this gun, so I'm just going to use this cheap ammo to save money, you are actually hindering the performance of your gun. And I think that that's the biggest thing, is smartly spending whatever money you spend. Spending that money to purchase things that actually help what you have continue to be effective is what matters more than just spending a whole bunch of money on a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, because there's some things that don't affect your skill level at all, like tactical gear. I mean, I own more tactical gear than I'd like to admit. I know that it doesn't make me a better player. I just do it because I'm a nerd and I don't spend my money wisely.
Same here.
Yeah, but there's definitely things that are worth it to spend money on. But while we have been talking about this, and the consensus has been that really airsoft isn't pay to win, I think that there's always exceptions to the rule.
Oh, of course. I mean, there are certain situations that you are going to enter at certain games, especially like higher end milsim games, where you are going to be severely handicapped if you're not fighting on your terms.
Yeah.
Which I think is also a logistics thing that your entire chain of command has got to plan around. But night games at high end milsim games, like the night rotations, if you don't have night vision of some sort, and I'm not including Gen 1 night vision because we've actually seen people get hurt trying to use Gen 1 night vision. If you don't have night vision at some of these higher end milsim games, you might as well not go out for the night game. I know everyone talks about how great their flashlights are, but it really does become a limitation.
At least in my limited experience using Gen 2 and Gen 3 units, having that mobility and that confidence to move around at night because you can actually see is going to do you leaps and bounds better.
Being able to do it more quietly, more safely,
of course,
and more stealthily. It makes it a lot easier.
All of that combined, it doesn't matter if the guy on the other end has a surefire. You're going to way outgun them. I think the other thing that can really help, and this is more prevalent at bigger games again, Pyro. Pyro's expensive. I mean, EG67s are what, $10, $12?
Oh, I'm not even talking about EG67s. When I'm thinking of Pyro that really helps, I'm talking the tag-in launchers. I'm talking the mortars that are coming out now, the RPGs.
There's a lot, and it's a very slippery slope, which is why I try to get out of it.
It's very dangerous,
but
both literally and metaphorically.
Especially at these bigger games. You know, if you have Pyro, you have capabilities that people do not have. Because most people go to these games as riflemen. You know, they've got their AEG, they've got a pistol on their hip, But if you can shoot a tag from 200 feet away, 300 feet away, and get like 12 guys, yeah, you've got a little bit of a unfair advantage there.
But it also does come down, again, and like with the night vision thing, you can counter that with good coordination. Yeah. And you can also counter that by fighting on your terms and understanding what the enemy's capabilities are. For example, if you don't have night vision, but you're with a squad that does, having that squad do the heavy hitting at night can actually still have your platoon or your team be effective, or interspersing people with night vision capability in with people who don't, and then switching to white light once the actual shooting starts and having the night vision people do the scouting and all that can really raise the capability of everyone around them. So to a certain extent, you do get big advantages the more money that you spend. But if you coordinate effectively with the rest of your group, you can either use those people who have spent that amount of money to raise your own capability, or you can counter that capability to a certain extent.
So I guess even at the furthest of extremes, it still boils down to preparation and personal skill. Yeah. But for the most part, for most games that you're going to go to, if you spend your money wisely, and if you put the extra money into what you can afford, and this goes for really any price range, because, you know, if you can justify spending $1,200 on an Umbrella Armory gun, if you play that much and you think you're going to get the enjoyment out of it, go for it. This isn't a video to say to not spend money on Airsoft.
No, I mean, of course
not. If within whatever budget you have, if you spend your money wisely and put extra money towards what counts and what will lead you having a better time, I don't think that Airsoft is necessarily pay to win whatsoever. It's just making sure that the money that you do spend is spent wisely.
Yes, and making sure that you take advantage of every advantage that you have, and just being able to effectively coordinate with your group, coordinate with your squad, coordinate with anyone who you're going with, and you can really counter a lot of the advantages that you can pay for as well.
Airsoft becomes so much easier and so much more fun when you work with a group of people. Yes. And if you have a group of really well-coordinated guys who have worked together in the past, you can easily turn around a game where you are outnumbered or outgunned, because you have that skill and that kind of trust with each other to do really well on the field.
Yeah, and I think ultimately that's what matters the most. So make a bunch of friends and get really good. That's what we're telling you.
This is a social hobby. Make friends. Yes. And then you'll end up doing YouTube videos with them one day, like Eric and I have.
Yes, and then it just turns into a ridiculous party, and it's great. That's what Airsoft is about.
That's what Airsoft's about. But that is going to do it for today's video, where we asked the question: is Airsoft pay to win? Because this isn't an EA game, it actually isn't. Yeah. I hope that you enjoyed today's video.
But you have to pay for all the character customization, which is kind of shit.
Oh, yeah. So they're like, technically, there's microtransactions.
Yeah, there's super loaded with microtransactions.
Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I love coming out here and doing collaborations. So make sure to check out Eric's channel. We're going to be doing a bunch of content for his channel as well. But this is if this is your first time here, I'd love it if you subscribe to this channel. You can do that by hitting that subscribe button down below. Hit the bell icon next to it so you get updated when we post brand new videos. This has been Lane from the BB Warrior.
And I'm Eric from Gun Gamers.
And we'll see you all next time.
Peace.